If you know that how multicast routing does work, then it's okay, right? I don't know whether it is there in much detail in your syllabus or not. It is not actually, not in much detail, but because the things were there in presentation, I just added it. Now, for multicast routing, so distance vector routing protocol, the same thing we are using here. So multicast distance vector. So in distance vector routing protocol, again you can use a multicast algorithm there. So you see number of things are given here that how it actually works. So multicast routing does not allow to send it routing table to other, does not make routing table, but just use that unicast routing table. Whatever unicast routing you have, you just do use it, and then the flooding, you know how you flood the messages. So send to all other lines except then it comes. Okay, can create looping also when you have a link available there and you want to send the update. Okay, what you can do is you update the you send the update or flood the updates which you have to the students or to the routers which are directly connected you, and you will forward it to others except from the router you got it, right? So that is multicast routing using distance vector multicast routing protocol. DVMRP is nothing but distance vector multicast routing protocol. Okay? And this is reverse path forwarding, that looping can be created because when you forward it to others, you may be having a way that you are connected such a way that there will be looping kind of thing. Okay, so for that here reverse path forwarding is there. Looping is avoided there. Reverse path forwarding, router forward only one packet which comes from the shortest path. They only forward the packet which came from the, what we can say, this shortest. It's easy for you when you understand this. It's very easy for you. You see here, this is your source, and router 1 is here, router 2 is here, number of routers are there. You can say uh, this M is nothing but a message which you have created, right? So when you forward it from source R1, it is going this side, as well as it will only forward one packet here. For this, it will only forward a packet here, it will only forward a packet here, right? A single packet, you can say, is forwarding. So this is your interface 1, interface 2, interface 3. When you have a packet, you forward only single packet here, you generate a shortest path packet there, and you only forward a shortest path packet here. And then whatever packet you got, you forward it, as well as you are forwarding a shortest path packet here. Every router will generate its own shortest path, reverse path forwarding, right? Yeah, that loop problem we have already seen. Uh, See, as I told you, some of the things I want to exclude now because we are running out of time, and I don't want to cover most of the things which are not in syllabus. Just because I have started that point, I just concluded. Otherwise, whatever is left, if it will be possible for me, then I will try to cover this entire things in during my lab sessions. I'm writing here, during my lab sessions I will try to cover all the remaining things of multicast routing. Okay, because I'll get time for it and I'll try to cover it. Okay, so that's it with this. I just started that point so that I have completed it. Now let us move to, because every lecture we have planned for something and we want to complete it. So can anyone tell me where you were in this? uh, I'm just showing you. to know it or not, where you were in this chapter. Sir might have started this, yes or no? Yes, Ninki Ria. Yes, he started. But okay, which PPT was the last PPT sir was discussing? Which point? We were done with queuing. Okay, so this might have completed queuing. Yes, queuing in UDP or TCP. UDP. So TCP sir might have started it or not. UDP is over now. Yes, UDP over. So I will start with TCP. Will that be okay for all? Okay. Thank you, Murtuja. Okay. Let me go there. Okay. So just because to take a back view that what you have done so far. So you have started your transport layer, and transport layer is upper layer to the network layer. And as you know that at the beginning when I was teaching you, I told you that transport layer to is a kind of process to process communication. And when you say there will be a process which is running one side, there will be another process which is running another side. When you use a daytime server, or when you use a kind of like you are running, you might have given the feedback. You were here when you were there in university. You might have given that feedback in our lab sessions, during lab sessions. You might have started that 192.168.12.101. That 12.101 is the ID of the server, and slash, after slash you were writing like feedback. That feedback is the name of the process you are actually trying to access from the server. So what happens at that time? See, when you write in your browser 192.168, you need to understand this, right? 101. Using this, you are actually fixing that which server I want to with which server I want to communicate. So this ID is fixed, and then you using slash, you will write a port number, which port number I would like to access. Because what is port number? That port number on every, this is, suppose I have a machine here, and at every port number of processes are there. So every process will be allocated or identified using a port number. Suppose this is a port number 52000. So one process will have a port number fixed, right? The 52000 is a port number on which particular process is running. Because when you access this machine, this is the entire ID, IP address of that machine. You are not fixing that which process you want to get data from. So you need to make it sure that which process I would like to communicate. So you'll write here feedback. That feedback is the name of the process. Actually, you cannot remember the port number always. So rather, if you know port number, you can write here. So suppose I have port number like 1290, you can write it. Okay, but if you don't want to remember it, or you don't want to disclose it, what you can do is you can directly give the name feedback. So actually this request goes to the server, and on that server it executes or request, it will generate a request that one IP address would like to access this process feedback, and then the page will be there on your machine. Right? This is what happening. So this port number is working at your transport layer, that how one process of your machine is executing. And believe me, when you generate a request, your browser is running, it's a kind of process. It will have one process ID, sorry, yes, process ID, and which we say it is a port number. And suppose your IP address is, if you are sitting in lab 2, your IP address will be kind of this 31 dot, let us say 20 slash, and suppose your port number is 5500. So request will be from this, and request will be to this, and this entire thing is known as socket. You might have heard the word socket programming. This is how you access a particular process from a particular machine. So you are requesting for a service. A service is a process, right? And so that it is known as process to process communication. Clear? Fine. So now this is what is happening actually at transport layer. So we at network layer will identify a machine, and at transport layer we are adding one thing, and which is port number. And so that your transport layer is known as P2P communication. It is not peer to peer, but it is process to process communication, because we are fixing process at this transport layer, that which process is accessing which kind of data, or requesting which kind of data to which process. That is what your transport layer, basic idea behind transport layer is. And this is what actually is clear with this figure. One process is requesting for data. Okay, so it is, and queuing is, you might have seen that now, inbound PDU and outbound PDU I was showing you in a packet tracer. It's a queue. Every server or every machine will have a buffer. In buffer, it is showing the data. It is storing the data. It is incoming packets and it is outgoing packet, where you want to forward a data outside. So inbound PDU and outbound PDU. When you have a router, when you have a machine, when a data comes inside, at every link there will be data which is coming inside, and there will be data which is going outside of that interface. And that is known as inbound queue and outbound queue, or incoming queue and outgoing queue. So use of UDP, number of uses of UDP are there. Simple request response communication with no flow and error control. There will not be any flow and error control, which means that you and your server will not communicate in a way that I want to forward this kind of packets or this many numbers of packet. Have you received it or not? You give me back me the acknowledgement. Have you received it or not? Flow control will not be there, right? As a fast sender, slow receiver, we don't care at all. We forward a packet, we broadcast a packet, we multicast a packet, and receiver will receive it. Whether they are receiving it correctly or not, we don't care at all, right? As well as error control. We will not take any responsibility of corrupted bits or packet lost, nothing. What we want is just forward a packet and all other are receiving it. So before that, they will not build any connection. They just start their communication and forward the messages, right? Suitable for process with internal flow control. So if you have your own flow control mechanism, then if you do not have, it's okay, you can use UDP. When your data is not, if you do not want to talk in reliable way, in that case, you can use UDP. Suitable for multicasting, mostly used for SNMPs, right? And I think Sir was talking about SNMP as well. It's okay. Use in route updating protocol, yes. So the second protocol which you might learn in your uh, transport layer, actually we are learning this in transport layer, and it is TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. TCP is a connection oriented protocol. Now you keep in your mind that there are two kinds of services you can have: connection oriented and connection less. Okay, connection less means that you do not need to build any connection between two devices which are communicating. They can directly just throw their messages, and on the point of when you are receiving a message, you can throw back a response if you want. Okay, and connection oriented means before you communicate, you need to build a connection. Before I communicate with you, I need to build connection with you. Suppose you can take this as a phone call. When you dial a number and the other person, it's ringing, so you try to build connection before you transmit your data. If your connection establishment will be successful, in that case only you will be able to transfer a message or data or information. If other person is not available, if other person actually does not want to talk with you, will not respond you back by receiving your call, he will not receive your phone, or he will avoid your call or terminate your connection and something like that. So connection oriented is before you transmit a message, you need to build connection between this. So this we can say a reliable communication. Why reliable? Because the message you are going to forward to that particular person, you will come to know that, okay, I forwarded a message. I informed him by calling him, right? Because suppose a special examination is going there, and you all want to, suppose 5 of the students who wants to be there in a special examination. I don't know it. So connectionless means we do not have any idea who are going to come there. And connection oriented means we want to actually make sure and want to make it in reliable way. So what we do is we talk with those students. Are you going to come there? So there will be acknowledgements. Yes, sir, I'm going to come there. All other, and we have concern of it. So actually what we did is, before transmission of data, what we did is we did a communication, and then in communication we inform each other, uh, or we share or we exchange some kind of data. And we wanted it to be in a reliable way, because we don't want that our packet is lost, and so that some fruitful information, or we can say some important information, is lost. We don't want it, right? So connection oriented, it creates a virtual connection between two TCPs to send data. So to TCP is nothing but a protocol. So what happens is, you have a machine here, you have another machines here. You can think these machines are in a lab. You can think that they are in separate labs. You can think that they are in separate country, right? They will be in a different geographically location. So you can think that, okay, they may be in a separate lab, separate countries, they are far away from each other. You can think it, right? But yes, they can build a connection. So what happens is, whoever is requesting for a data, suppose this machine is requesting for a data, so I'll say that it is client, and this is who is providing is, I will say it as a server, right? It depends, okay, how you are, or you are behaving. So now here I want to build a TCP connection related. I want to use TCP protocol, a transport layer. So what my machine does is, it's create one TCP request message, and normally it is just for your, I will discuss in detail. So it will create a packet to build a connection. It will forward it to your server, and server, by looking at that packet, will say that, okay, this is the response as well, and I would also like to build a connection. It's normally known as SYN packet, synchronization packet. And then this will forward back, okay, I got your SYN packet as well. So both are ready to get connected with each other. And this is known as three-way handshaking. I'll move in much detail, three-way handshaking. And so two TCPs are building a connection. And then here, after this is over, they will start communicating with each other. So connection between two TCPs is to send data. In addition, TCP uses flow. It will use flow control and error control mechanism at the transport layer. A transport layer is not doing anything, but your TCP, yes, it is its own flow control and error control mechanism. It is using. How it uses it, we'll see. But this is what happening at transport layer, right? In TCP. So TCP is transmission control protocol. Transmission control protocol. I'm repeating it because it is not written here. It is transmission control protocol, which is kind of connection oriented protocol, and how it creates a connection and how it communicates with the other machine which is connected with it. We'll see it. How many topics are there? How, which kinds of service your TCP is providing? TCP features, segments, TCP connection establishment, flow control, and error control. These many things are there in TCP, which we are actually going to see. But before you go for this, you must understand that what is basic difference between TCP and UDP. Will both allow you to transmit a packet? Yes. Which both are working at transport layer? Yes. What is basic difference is, your UDP is kind of connection less protocol, and when you say TCP, it's a connection oriented protocol, right? Because when I drop a message, I don't know whether the other person is available or not. What I do is I drop a message. That's it. When I forward a postcard, I don't know whether the other person is available or not. I don't know whether I'll get acknowledgement. Actually, I do not need any acknowledgement, right? So I'll forward it. That's it. Normally in multicasting, you might have seen this scenario in older movies, right? They announce when they are going to have a show or they are arranging a movie show at a night in a village. What they do, they will take a rickshaw, cycle rickshaw, and there they will have a mic and they will broadcast it. Okay, kind of broadcast, yes or no? They will have a mic and they will speak that for today night we are going to arrange a movie show for this particular movie, let us say. And all who are there in a village, they will get that data. It's kind of broadcasting. Whoever wants it will, okay, this is fruitful information for us or not. Will they take concern that are you going to come, are you going to come? No, they broadcast it. Whoever is getting, it's okay. Whoever is not getting, it's okay. What they will get, we don't care. Whatever we are speaking, we are very much sure that what we are informing or announcing, that's it. It's a kind of TCP. And when you are here from DDU in a hostel you are living and you want to go for a movie show and you are supposed to book a movie ticket, what you do is you take consent from each and every friend of yours and you take, say, okay, are you going to come there? Yes, I'm booking 3 tickets. Will that be okay? Okay, okay. And finally, before you book it, it's a very reliable information actually. You take that, okay, are you going to come there? And then only you will. This just I just want to show you that what is reliable and unreliable information. In that case, you can build a connection before you transmit a data. Transmission of data is nothing but exchanging the information. Which kind of information, it is up to you. So this is how it builds a connection, and then they will exchange the information in TCP. So well-known ports, you might have seen this in your UDP also. Well-known port numbers, you know it, no? Ephemeral port and dynamic ports and so on. So these many well-known ports are there. Port number 7 is for echo. So when you write something and when you know echo in ELCP subject, you might have seen this in Linux. When you write echo, it is from localhost to localhost. But which process it is calling? It is calling a process which has port number 7, right? For discard this, for user active users, you can take 11. So you have a number of commands, but actually the process it is executing is this with this port number. DN time server, quota, returns quota of the day, FTP. FTP, for this FTP, there are two kinds of port number given to it. This is for data connection and this is for control connection. All right, where you using this port number you transport data, and using this port number you build a connection. I don't know whether you have used this FTP. You use this FTP or not? I don't know it. But when you use FTP, you need to have a FTP server number. And when you write that FTP server number, suppose we have FTP as 34.254. This is our FTP number, right? 192.168.34.254. And then it will create one, or it will ask for username and password. And you say that, okay, user 1 and password is again user 1. Then you will be able to access the data at FTP server. So this is control connection and for data connection. Telnet terminal network, when you want to access remote devices, you can use Telnet protocol, SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, domain name server. You learn this as well as this, as well as this, as well as this in application layer. These all are application layer protocol, you can say, right? HTTP, finger, RPC. You will learn this at in Java also you will learn this. In distributed communication also you will learn this. Remote procedure call. You have a machine here, you have a machine here, and you say that which is not kind of object oriented, and you want to call a process which is here on another machine. You can use RPC mechanism. Right? And then for Java object oriented, it is known as RMI, remote method invocation. So when you see it's a procedure and it is method, right? Learn this. I don't want to discuss that, but these are the well-known port numbers. And now let us understand how TCP works. So in TCP, stream delivery is there. And what is stream delivery actually? Stream delivery says that your TCP, unlike UDP, is a stream-oriented protocol. But stream-oriented protocol is one machine will be here, one machine will be here, and when you forward a data, you build a connection first, and in that connection, you will have a stream of data moving there. Will the person at this end will receive the data in form of stream, right? And then send back the acknowledgement. In UDP, neither IP nor UDP recognize any relationship between the datagram. But here we have the relationship between datagrams. That whichever is the first packet, whichever is the second packet, if it is fragmented or was fragmented, uh, which one is the first most packet, last most packet, second medium, and so on. So you have a relationship between all packets which are coming over there with ID number. And by looking at its ID number, you'll say that, okay, this is all packet, you just defragment it and will have entire packet there. In TCP, you will have it. In UDP, you do not have it. If you have missed something, you don't care at all, because it may be your unreliable data, and so that you are not worrying about it. There will not be any relationship between any packet, right? Because see, when you know, for teleconferencing, suppose I and you both are communicating. When I forward my data right now, some of the data is lost. You will not have any relationship that which packet you have lost, and so that this is an incomplete packet. No, whatever is lost is lost. You don't care at all. But when in TCP, we'll have that okay, one packet I lost, which is corrupted packet or kind of things. So it is, there is no flow control. I am fast sender, you are slow receiver. I don't care. I will go and forwarding it. You will never ask me that, okay, we let us use stop and wait protocol and communicate. No, in UDP, it is never going to be. So in datagram, in TCP has some relation. Every datagram in TCP has some relation. That this is first packet, second packet, third packet, fourth packet. I have received this many packet, and now I'm going to receive this other packets and so on. Some packets are late, so I'll keep place for it, and this is how I am maintaining my flow control. Right? Some of the packets I might have lost in on the link, and I need to have a sender which must retransmit the packets and so on. Everything I will say in TCP. In UDP, I will never talk about it. If the packets are lost, they are lost. That's it. Send data as a one stream. Then TCP creates an environment in which the two processes seems to be connected by imaginary tube. So you can say the connection is kind of imaginary tube. We have the that figure later that carries their data across the internet. Let's see how it looks like. This is you can say a stream delivery. That one person sending process here, receiving process here, sending process is transmitting a data here, and receiving process will receive it. This is a stream of data which is moving from one side to the another side of communication. Because the sending and the receiving process may not write or read the data at the same speed, TCP needs buffer for storage. As we know that the sender may be faster, receiver may be slower, receiver may be faster, sender may be slower, and so on. So what happens, I should not explain you this, because I was explaining you that flow control and you know it. If this person is transmitting a data very speedy, in that case, your receiver who is slower receiver will not be able to receive data with that much speed. So what it does is it stores the data here in a buffer, and it will read it by its own speed, right? So you are forwarding too much amount of data here, but your receiver is not capable to receive the data with that much speed. So what it does is it stores the data in a buffer, and it will process that data and receive it, process the data and receive it, process the data and receive it. Here, where you are storing your data, which is known as buffer. Okay, this is what your buffer is. Now what happens is, suppose the sender is keep on sending the data with the same speed. The receiver keep on receiving and keeping it in buffer, and with its own speed, it is processing the data and receiving it. At a point, what happens? Your buffer is full now. Your buffer is such a way full that you cannot accept any other or more data. In that case, every byte you forward here will be there on buffer, and your buffer is full. So you can say it's kind of overflow buffer. So your buffer will not receive it, and your packet will be discarded. Why discarded? Because you cannot keep it on link. That may cause traffic. So if your buffer is full, your data will be discarded here. That is what going there. So suppose I was explaining you that you and your friend both are playing a game. Okay, your buffer is kind of bucket here. You are throwing balls with your speed. Your friend is receiving it and processing it and writing here. So a time comes where your friend, which is slower, will take a data and keep it in buffer, take a data and keep it in buffer, and here another person is there who is processing with a slow speed. So at a moment your data will be buffer is full with so fully full with all balls. Now you cannot catch any other ball and keep it here. In that case, your data will be discarded. So that also we need to manage, and how TCP manages it, we'll see it. So because the sending and the receiver process may not write or read the data at the same speed, TCP needs buffer or for storage. Buffers are also necessary for flow and error control, as I already explained you, right? Okay. Up to this, is it okay? Was it okay? Is everything clear up to this? Yes. 2-3 people are only responsive, not others. Row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are you there? I know that roll number 52, 75, and 140 they got it. What about roll number 1? Roll number 2, 2 9, 3, 4. Kaushal, Aksar, Bhargav, Hetvi, Preet, Priya, Gaurav, Shivani, Deep, Parth, Harsh. Is it clear? Okay. Roll number 1 is not there. Okay. Must take your stand. I mean, I'm getting it, right? That you must write. This many students are there. Okay, what for this? I'll just avoid it. Okay. So now a physical view is there for sending and receiving buffer. So this is your sender, this is your receiver. As I told you, will maintain a buffer. So just understand this. What is buffer? It's very easy. So here your sending process is there. Here your receiving process is there. Sender is transmitting a data. Receiver is receiving a data. What will happen in buffer? Let us understand the buffer. So this is the buffer you are given, and these are the slots where you can store a packet. Okay, that every slot you can store a packet. So now whoever is this pink color packet are not yet sent. You might have processed it and you have stored in your buffer and you want to transmit it. So this packet is transmitted by your sender. This packet is transmitted. This packet is transmitted. So it's a sent byte, right? This is every byte you are transmitting. You have transmitted 3 bytes now. You are going to transmit fourth byte, fifth. So these are the bytes which are not yet sent, but it is there in your buffer. You have not sent it yet, and this is empty that you can store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 bytes you can store here again in this buffer up to this buffer, right? And these which are sent are still in buffer, because why they are still in buffer, which are sent but still in buffer? Why they are there in buffer? Can anyone answer this? Connection oriented. Yes, TCP is itself connection oriented, but why they are still there in buffer? I have transmitted 5 packets, but still I kept those 5 packets. It's like window. Very good, Fenil. Very good. Why I kept those packets? So we will wait. Yes, yes, yes. We'll wait for the acknowledgement. Right, right. So I didn't get the acknowledgement here, and so that I kept them still in my window. Okay. As and when I'll get the acknowledgement, I will remove this from my ready. Mail કરવાનો છે. Okay, thank you. Okay, so they are there. This I have not yet transmitted. They are there in my window. I will transmit it as and when I'll get time, or I'll slide it or something like that. This stream of bytes, every byte is there. And see, you're in your TCP, one thing you need to make sure that every byte will be numbered. Every byte will be numbered. Sequence number will be based on your byte. Okay. At a receiver, what happens here? Next byte to receive this, you have received this, next byte to read it, and then you will send back the acknowledgement. Then you'll read this, you'll send back the acknowledgement. You'll read this, send back the acknowledgement. This you have not yet read, so you'll read it and send back the acknowledgement. Right? Or anyhow, you may have two kinds of acknowledgements are there, right? Cumulative acknowledgement or individual. You'll go with the cumulative acknowledgement, that after receiving 4 or 5 or reading 5 or 6 bytes, you will send back the acknowledgement. Or send 7 packets, you will send back the acknowledgement. This is what you can do. Clear? This is what the buffer in it. Okay. And now what you are transmitting is you'll have a segment there. When you say a packet is there at network layer, here in transport, you will say that, okay, I am transmitting one segment. Okay. What is a segment? Segment is consisting of number of bytes. Right? Rather than transmitting as every byte, you will have a segment, and segment is consist of number of bytes within it. What your the segment you are transmitting. So it may be the case that you have a larger packet and you create number of segments and you are transmitting to your receiver. You see here, next byte to accept, and then you transmit it, and the next byte to send, and then you will have a segment here. Your segment is consist of number of bytes. So this is, you can say, segment number 1. This is, you can say, segment number n. Number of segments are there, and this person also will receive a data in form of segment and send back you the acknowledgement in form of segment, that I got segment number 1, I got segment number 2, and so on. So it's a full duplex communication. I have already covered these things, right? Full duplex communication, what it means? It means that each TCP then has a sending and receiving buffer. So if you have a machine here, if you have a machine here, you are transmitting the data as well. This person will transmit back to the data. So every TCP has a sending receiver as well as a sending buffer or receiver buffer. So suppose I have machine here, I will be maintaining, if I'm using TCP, a send buffer and a receive buffer. So when I would like to transmit it, I will put it here. When I want to receive it from the link, it will be here, and I will process it and receive it. So this you can compare with your in queue and out queue. For every TCP, there will be sending and as well as receiving buffer. It's a connection oriented service. The two TCP establish connection between them, and then they will data are exchanged in both direction, and then connection is terminated. So I told you that you take that example, that you want to build a connection. You can use three-way handshaking and you build a connection. First step is you build a connection establishment. When a connection is established, then and then only you can exchange the data in the both the direction. After your exchange of data is over, you terminate a connection. So these three steps are there for a TCP communication. When you call a person, as and when that person pick up your call or answer your call, that is your connection establishment is over. Then what you do is you exchange the information. You speak something, the other person will tell you something, and then your data is exchanged. Now the data exchange is over. What you do is you terminate a connection, and the call, that is termination of connection. Before you terminate, you must how you terminate connection. It's again the way is given there. Three-way handshaking is again there. How you terminate a connection and what problem can be there when you are terminating a connection. Because when you terminate a connection, you might have experienced this during day-to-day life, right? You communicate with a person, and then at the moment you end your call, you realize that okay, some data is still left, which I want to convey, or that other person wanted to convey or wanted to give you, and then you again establish a connection, or you call that person and take that data. Okay, so before you terminate, number of things you need to make sure that when you can terminate, when your data exchange is completely over, right? We'll see it. Reliable service, use and acknowledgement, or for acknowledgement for the packet, and that's why it's a reliable service. When you say reliable service is what the packet you have transmitted is correctly delivered by a receiver, and then a person says that okay, I got your packet. It's a connection oriented as well as reliable service, reliable kind of service you can have using TCP. Okay, number of features are there. You see here, TCP features are numbering system, how it numbers the sequence number to the segment, and acknowledgement number. What is the acknowledgement number? Okay, your segment you have transmitted, and then acknowledgement back you will get it. Byte number generate between 0 to 2 raised to 32 minus 1. This many byte numbers you can generate. So you say that it's going to be 32 bits are there to generate the sequence number or byte number. Bits are there, so that you can generate a byte number for every byte. So as I told you in my previous slide, that every byte in a TCP will be number. So suppose I have a segment, I don't know whether it is there or not, it will be there, but suppose I have a segment, and in segment I have 50 bytes. Okay, it consists of 50 bytes, and the first byte is 0th byte, second byte is 1, and I will number each and every byte. So last byte will have 49 number, right? So I will number this segment as zero number segment. But when I have another segment, consecutive segment, which have again 50 bytes, then the next byte, the first byte will be numbered as 50, because I have already given 0 to 149 number to all bytes. So this will start from 50, 51, 52, 53, and 99, suppose. In that case, the first number of the byte is 50, so that this segment is numbered as 50. So when person receives zeroth number segment, it will say that okay, in zeroth number segment I have 0 to 49, and so that I'm expecting the segment number 50 now. So the byte of data being transferred in each connection are numbered by the TCP. The number status with a randomly generated number, right? Uh, from 0 to 2 raised to 32 minus 1. Okay, that is what you will use to number a byte. So from starting to end in your segment, number of bytes will be there, and every byte will be numbered by your TCP. It's a clear example you see here. It's very clear example. The following shows the sequence number for each segment. So these many segments are there. You know the segments now, right? Which is taking your data you got from presentation or layer, and you have a transport layer will have you have created segments, number of segments. Suppose you have created 5 segments. In first segment, sequence number is 10,001. In your segment, 1,000 data or bytes are there. It's a consist of 1,000 bytes. So every bytes will be numbered by TCP. So first byte will have number 10,001. Second byte will have number 10,002, 3, 4, and 11,000 as the last byte. And when you represent this segment, you'll say that okay, this segment number is the number of very first byte of this segment. And what is the number of very first byte of this segment? 10,001. What will be the sequence number of this second segment? Very first number of the byte. 10, 11,001, 12,001, 13,001, 14,001, so on. Okay. And every byte will be number accordingly with every byte will be number. Okay, so 10,001, second byte will be 10,002, and last byte will be 11,000 will be the number of that byte. So when you look at the sequence number, please don't get confused. It means that this is first segment, this is second segment. It means that in first segment there will be 1000 byte. In second segment, third segment relation, you can say, okay, 1000 byte, 1000 byte, and so on. This is how the sequence number of every segment is given. Is it clear? Okay. So the value in the sequence number field of a segment defines the number of first data byte contained in that segment. Very first byte which you have. The value of the acknowledgement field in a segment defines the number of next byte to a party expects to receive. The acknowledgement number is a cumulative acknowledgement, as I told you. Then you will have individual acknowledgement as well as cumulative acknowledgement. And this is the TCP header you have. How much time I have? 4 minutes. Let me try it. How much I can complete. So in TCP header, this is given to you. UDP header, you might have seen it. There you have source port number, destination port number, this and this. That's it. Okay. In TCP header number, you will have source port number. Okay. You will have destination port number. From where you want to, from which process you want to communicate to which process. Sequence number 32 bits. Acknowledgement number 32 bits. It may be there, may not be there. Header length 4 bits, reserve bits 6 reserve bits are there, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bits are there. Where this bit says it's urgent pointer. This bit, if it is 0 or 1, if it is 1, then it is acknowledgement packet, push pointer, reset pointer, scene pointer or scene bit or fin bit. This 6 bits are there, and using this 6 bit, this many things you can represent using urgent pointer. If your packet is urgent packet, if you want to represent it such a way. Okay, this if you in push pointer, if it is 1, it means that you don't want to you do not need to wait for entire packet to come. You can stream it to the other device. I'll explain you this in much detail. If you want to reset the connection, you can use it. When you want to build a connection, you can use this scene packet. And when you want to terminate a connection, this is kind of fin packet. You can use this bit as a one. This window size. Okay. If your urgent pointer is there, the value for urgent pointer will be here. It's a checksum and option and padding. You know it, right? We actually don't want to go for this. This is TCP header. Let us try to understand this in much detail. You can keep this pointer as 1 when your urgent pointer is valid. If you are going for acknowledgement, you can keep this pointer as a 1. Okay. You are transmitting, suppose, acknowledgement back. Push request, when you want to push your data immediately, you can keep this pointer as a 1. If you want to reset the connection or TCP connection, if you want to reset, you can keep this pointer as 1. Synchronized number, if when you want to build a connection, this scene packet as well as fin packet you will come to know. Right? This when you want to when you can touch this point, when you want to build a connection. See, when you building a connection, what it means that building a connection means that you will synchronize the thing, that I am going to transmitting you data with the starting sequence number, that I will use sequence number from 5. Okay, I'll not never tell you that why I'm not using 1 to 4. I'll tell you that okay, my next packet will start from sequence number 5. And other person, by getting that information, okay, I am ready to get connected with you, and I will receive your packet from 5. And whatever I will transmit you, I will start from, let us say, 100. So that person also is sending back you the sequence number, that from which sequence number I will transmit you, because you don't know that which is going to be the first sequence number. Will never, or it will not be always case that you are starting from sequence number 1 and other person is also starting from sequence number 1, right? So you synchronize the information, and what you informed him, what that person informed you, will need to send back the acknowledgement. And this is how you build the connection. This is the only thing you are doing in building the connection, not extra things, right? This is known as SYN packet, that I want to get connected with you with my this information I have, that my sequence number will start from this. This person is also sending you the SYN packet that I will have sequence number starting from 100, and I want to get connected with you. And when you send back the acknowledgement that okay, I am expecting your 100th packet now, first packet actually. This acknowledgement is CK packet, right? This is how you are building a connection. So at that point of time, you will use this pointer. And this fin is, as I told you, terminate connection. When you want to terminate connection, you can use it. That I want to terminate a connection. You will send this packet by having this bit as a 1. That's it for today. I will emphasize on these 2 pointers in next lab, if possible. If you have any doubt, you can raise it here. Is it clear up to this? Those who are having any doubt may be there in meeting, otherwise you may leave the meeting. That's it for today. For experiment 7, can we submit the yes. Is written for RIP also. See, for RIP what you can do is